On this week's episode of This Week in Indies, we'll be discussing the necessary tasks and tricks to building a following. Does one social media app work better than the others? How does TikTok, this new app, fit into building a following? Are newsletters the best way to build your following? We'll discuss these topics and more as we sit down with a knowledgeable group of authors at the round table. Then we'll hear from C.L. Cannon with her Indie Connection, featuring books similar to Don't Go to Sleep by Bryce Moore, within this month's fitting theme for Halloween and spooky reads. Then for the final 5 minutes, we'll hang out with Tommy as he shares with us a bit of his work. So sit back, relax, and grab a cup of coffee as we dive into This Week in Indies with your host, Madeline Dale. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Indies. I'm Madeline Dale, your host for this week. Huge shout out to Joe for letting me take over once again the show. We have a great group of authors to chat with this morning about building a following. So let me go ahead and bring these crazy guys in and let them introduce themselves. Look at this beautiful group of people. So we're going to go ahead and start with Claudia, go around and let everybody introduce themselves. Tell us a bit about your work, your books, etc.
Hi, I'm Claudia Blood. I write fantasy and sci-fi with a hint of romance. It is not the main theme, so don't expect a happily ever after until the end. I can be reached at www.claudiablood.com. And I'm putting it on to the next person.
Tommy.
Hi, my name is Tommy Schneermacher in Montreal, Canada. I've written a number of books. I've been a gossip columnist. I've been a radio talk show host. My latest book is a memoir called Makeup Tips from Auschwitz, How Vanity Saved My Mother's Life. It's full of, despite the title, controversial title, it's full of hilarious stories about what it was like growing up with this astonishing woman. I'll share more about her later. And you can reach me at talkradiotommy.com.
Sweet. Venessa.
Hey everybody, I'm Venessa Guinta. I'm the author of the Soul Cavern series, which is an urban fantasy with horrific elements. It occurs to me that we have a very global group here, so I'm just going to toss out, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So I feel like we have multiple countries represented. So
yeah, and I was also told to let you do a little bit about this.
Oh, yes. Yes. So tomorrow night, Monday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern time, I am hosting Nicole Givens-Kurtz in my show, A Conversation and a Cocktail. It's a live show. So please, if you want to pick our brains, make fun of our makeup, or whatever you want to do, come by. I don't care if it gets us views and likes. I don't care. I'm good. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I am. No, I'm not. Okay, so yeah. So it's tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern. I'm super excited. It's our second episode. We had Bobby Nash last month. And so I'm super excited to be talking about to Nicole. She runs a small press called Mocha Memoirs. And she's just all around fabulous. So
Sweet. Karina.
Hi everyone. First of all, I am the graphic designer of GoIndieNow, so all those lovely pretty pictures you see are from moi. My name is Karina Gantus. I am an award-winning author of 14 books. I'm also an award-winning filmmaker. I am a podcaster, a YouTuber, a booktuber, and I run Author Assist, which helps authors with their marketing and promotion, from brainstorming an idea to everything in between. And I'm a prolific author. I write in nearly every single fiction genre there is. Glad to be here.
Sweet. And Lindsay.
Hi everyone. I'm Lindsay Kinsella. I'm calling in from Edinburgh in Scotland. And I'm a science fiction author of the Lazarus Taxa, only book so far. And yeah, glad to be here.
Sweet. Well, guys, what do we think about building a following? What are your thoughts on that to start with?
it can be frustrating.
Okay.
That's like my first thought is, oh my God.
A following? What's that?
No, don't get me wrong. I love it. Like I love, the people that I interact with and have on my team, because that's kind of what I think of them as, like my team. But it can be really frustrating trying to figure out how to do it and like where to do it. And I think that that's something, especially authors, I think all authors have that issue, I think, but especially those who are just starting out. It's like there are so many options for finding your following, but it's hard to know which ones to do. So.
And there's no formula for it either, right? Because something that works for you might not work for me because our personalities are different and who we're actually targeting is different. Who we want to see us is different. So
yes, absolutely.
Facebook is an absolute nightmare. You can get a following on Facebook, but are they going to follow you? Because we all know, I mean, all of us know, and for those that don't know, with Facebook, we are limited to how many people see our posts. I could have 2,000 likes and followers on my Facebook page, which is fantastic. When I put a post up advertising a draw, get this free, join it. It's not costing you anything. Does anybody join? No. And why? Because they're not seeing the posts. Mm-hmm. I can put a post up for 2,000 followers and only 18 people see it. Yep. Unless, of course, I pay for a boost, which I wouldn't recommend because they don't work anyway. I have tried that many, many times. So Facebook is very annoying for when it comes to following and getting followers and getting your posts seen on Facebook. That's a no-no. However, Facebook is brilliant for posting onto groups, your promotions, and you can get sales from Facebook. I get sales from Facebook. My clients get sales from Facebook. Facebook works, but you have to know the rules.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the important things to keep and remember, I don't think there's a specific one, or this one is very good, this one's very bad. I don't think that's the way it works. I think the only way as authors, indie authors, we can look at it is which one are we really comfortable with? If something works really, really well and you don't like it and don't like interacting with it at all, it's not going to help. What I find really, where I'm a big Twitter fanatic, I'm addicted to Twitter, so I find that really helps to build a following. And sometimes it's serendipity. It's purely by accident. I found some little stream of a few seconds of a reel of somebody singing One-Way Ticket, One-Way Ticket to the Moon. So I thought it was cute the way they danced. So I sort of mimed it, right, along with it. And that got I got more likes to that than to anything I've ever done in any field doing book promotion. So I never know where it will happen. But the best advice really, I would think, is if you really don't like the specific social media, don't waste time on it. You can't do all of them. Pick the ones that you're comfortable with.
It sounds like what you did, Tommy, was something that they do on TikTok. Yeah, to actually do that on Twitter, that's really cool. So I'm not surprised you got lots of views and likes on that. Something that's not seen on Twitter that much. Maybe now videos are working. Before it was just, unfortunately, it was a dump and run place for many authors, just promoting and then just leaving. But if you use Twitter the way it's supposed to be used, and people would start answering your post, and you'll start communicating, and you'll start a thread. And when that thread starts working, that's when Twitter works for you.
And also, when you post something on Twitter, if you do something old-fashioned, like post something about a news item or something, if somebody's interested in what you posted, they'll say, "Who is that guy?" And then they'll click, "Oh, he's written this book. Maybe I'll buy this book." And on TikTok, that's hard to do because you can't find the links. Even if they like what you've done, they can't get you because TikTok wants to make sure that you don't get off TikTok. Right? So they don't want you going to any other link. But I think that what works in Facebook, I guess it's the old thing, we have to do that when we write too, right? You have to be interesting. I once spoke to a consultant when I was in the radio business, Valerie Geller. She's a former radio consultant in North America. She says there's three words that will guarantee you success. And the three words are never be boring. And if you can master that, then
Out
all
of the
else
box.
falls into place.
You got it.
Yes. I'm going to pull a couple of comments up because we've got the chat kind of going crazy. You got Anita here. And don't forget, if you're watching on Facebook, you can support our network by sending stars. Vanessa's breaking the fourth wall. So is Karina.
You
It's
beat
the
me,
thing we
Missy.
do. There are no walls. There are no
True.
walls.
And I think Anita is looking forward to multiverse
No, the
question mark.
show, the
Oh.
conversation in a cocktail.
Yeah, sweet. Gotcha.
Spelling's
For all
overrated.
authors here, it happens, right? So,
That's so true,
and
though.
then
That
groups
answers a lot
are
of
better
things.
than pages on Facebook.
Yes,
I have to agree
most
on
definitely.
that. And Joe says most of you know my model. The work is in the title. It's called social media. It's meant for you to be social. Yeah.
Oh, the introverts all hate that, just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to be social, but like Tommy was mentioning Twitter, I've actually had more success with Twitter and Facebook than I have any of my other social media apps. But despite like the huge amount of social media apps, do you guys find that one works better for you in interacting with your followers than the other?
I find it quite often it depends on which of those platforms you use in a personal capacity more, because you're inherently more familiar with how it works. Because yes, I mean, I find it that Facebook is the most sort of beneficial for me. I find it quite easy to build a following on Facebook. On the other hand, I quite recently started up, an Instagram account and a Twitter account. Those aren't platforms that I really use in my personal life, and I find those far more difficult because I'm just not really familiar with how people use those apps. So I think that's a big part. If you already know how to use the app, it's much easier. I suppose the same could be said for TikTok to an extent. I use that more than something like Instagram. So it feels a bit more natural, whereas others seem a bit forced. But yeah, that'll probably be the same for most, I would imagine.
With Instagram, it's the rule like you do with most of the platforms, and that's 70-30. So you don't just keep on talking about your book and posting pictures about your book. That's a no-no on Instagram. Instagram, you've got to remember using hashtags. That's more important than, Twitter's the same. Twitter started with hashtags, but Instagram, if you want your post to be seen, you use the correct hashtags for your post to be seen. You need an aesthetic so that all of your beautiful page looks similar. That's what's making Instagram pages more popular, is how pretty and how aesthetic all the posts look.
Mhm.
And with Instagram, if you do one post one day and then leave it another, like 5-6 days before you do another post, that's not going to work. Instagram's not going to work for you. It's like every platform. You've got to put the time in, but you've got to know what you're doing. And it's no good having 5 or 6 platforms and trying to make them all work, because you haven't got the time for it. So concentrate on one that works for you, or works for other authors like TikTok, and try and learn what they're doing to make their sales. Because as I think it was, I can't remember who said it, sorry, as someone said on the panel, that you can't leave your link, and TikTok isn't allowing you to sell your book. What TikTok's doing is getting you noticed by influencers, and it's the influencers that are making the sales for your books, because their page is the most popular, their videos are the most popular, and if you can get an influencer to see your book on TikTok, then you've got the sales that way.
So your audience on TikTok is the influencer, actually.
Most certainly. If you
Yeah.
see how they're doing it to get their followers and to keep their people watching the videos, they're either just showing a book cover, they're flicking through a book, they're making their own little review just a tiny little quote typed onto the video, or they're talking about it, or they're singing about it. Some of them are singing about books. It's out of the box. They've got to do something different to the other influencers. Everyone's doing something different, but these influencers are the ones that the readers are looking at. They're watching their videos, they're seeing these books, and they're seeing the covers and thinking, oh, I've got to go and check that out. If you can get an influencer to do your book, then you're in for a chance.
But that is interesting, because what you're saying too is that what you were saying, Tommy, is that you're not actually focusing on the readers on that, you're focusing on the influencers. And I wonder if there's a little bit of that in the other platforms as well. Like if there are unconscious influencers that you are, as soon as you get their attention, then they've got the reach to make your message go farther.
I think it's not as important. Influencers aren't as important on, I think, like places like Twitter and Facebook. They are obviously an influencer, but I don't think they're as important as a platform like TikTok and Instagram, because those are both very visual platforms. And so it's interesting because like when I think about those, all the video and like the visual platforms, YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, I think that it is a different, because it's so much about aesthetic, about what it looks like. It feels different to me than things like TikTok and Facebook that are kind of text oriented, or historically been more text oriented. Yes, pictures and videos and stuff still like they do really well on there, but that historically was not their primary thing. Now they're, of course, they've both been embracing it for a number of years, ever since Instagram. I mean, Facebook gobbled up Instagram. So, ever since Instagram and now TikTok has gotten big, now they're gearing much more towards the visual. But they all have a different feel. Like that's kind of a delineation for me. It's a different feel. So I think that the idea of going looking to get the attention of influencers makes a ton of sense on a visual platform, because they're better at it than we are. So for whatever that's all worth.
But it might have influenced the tactics that you use on the different social medias, right?
Sure.
And the, so you said the visual aesthetic of something and who you're appealing to, because different messages appeal to different people. Mm-hmm. So finding that in that particular social media is going to be super important.
Yeah. And this is why I don't do a lot of stuff on the visual side, because I don't really have that aesthetic. Like when I look at something like, if I'm choosing a cover for a book or something like that, I know what looks good to me. I know what looks good, but you give me like a blank page, you put me in front of a screen and are like, hey, do something cool for the video. I'm just like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm like. Thank you for the sound effect, because that is exactly what I'm like.
Yes.
But if somebody can tell me what to do, I'll do it. I don't care.
Right.
But yeah, for me, I don't have as much visual. I don't have visual creativity in the way that I have word creativity. And so I'm gonna let you in on a secret. I don't actually run my TikTok. We just started my TikTok like a couple months ago. So I don't have hardly any, like I've got a few videos on there, but I don't know what to do. But I actually don't do anything with it aside from like, I'll look at it or whatever, but I don't post the videos because I'm just not.
Yeah, you get a sigh. It's like, okay, what do I have to do? And that is not how you engage people when you're
right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not the best way to draw an audience.
You got to have your head in it and your heart in it to want to like interact. So, I'm going to pull up this. I so admire all the introverts because they have the most success. You all are a lot smarter and braver, choosing your words a lot more carefully than this extrovert ever could. I really appreciate that, Joe. Yeah. And then I agree with Venessa, but when the influencers get into the most trouble, it's when they post something stupid on Twitter or Facebook. The irony of that.
Yeah,
It's true. You don't want that negativity pulled in there. So
They have too much power. We gave them too much power. That's what it is.
Yeah. I actually find my most engagement. I am pretty terrible I'm good at scheduling stuff on social media.
Oh, you really
are.
You're the queen of that.
I am excellent at scheduling stuff on social media. And I will go back and, like, if there are comments, obviously, I'll engage when the platform tells me. Facebook has gotten very sketchy about letting me know. It'll let me know when people react to everything. I get every freaking reaction notification, but I've had situations where I don't actually get a notification if someone posts, like someone actually makes a comment, which is annoying. But I actually get more one-on-one interaction, maybe not more, but better one-on-one with my newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the ways
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So one of the ways, it's a bizarre method, but one of the ways to go viral, that's almost guaranteed. And usually, when people tell you, "Oh, this is the way to make it go viral," it usually doesn't work. But this one, but this one does, and it's whatever it lends itself more to certain genres than others. If you're writing in a genre that the average Donald Trump supporter would find offensive, right? If you're writing in that genre, then what you would do is you would say that this book by so-and-so is, twisting the minds of America's youth, and you send this to one of the Fox News anchors to denounce you. If you are denounced on that by millions of people out of curiosity, and what is that terrible book that's ruining you? What's the name of that author? What's the name of that book? And then they'll say, "Oh, this book," which they've never read, "is terrible," and they'll talk about it, and it'll go.
Yeah.
That goes viral. And
exactly.
The reason this came up, I was giving a seminar on book promotion, and this guy had written a book talking about how America and Canada, North America, and had been built on the genocide of the native people, right? And I said, all you have to do is say that they're thinking of teaching this in American schools. Send that in to Fox, to Tucker Carlson. He'll denounce your book for 5 minutes for free in front of an audience of millions. That'll sell a lot of books. And he thought it was a great idea, but his son was worried about his safety. So
yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, there's no way in hell I would ever do that. Ever.
I think
but
those people are freaking insane.
Yes.
Not all of them. Some of them
but it
are
would go
freaking
viral.
Insane.
The price might be too high to pay, but it would go
that's
viral.
the thing. It's not. I want to go viral for good reasons.
And
or at least the not "I'm gonna die" reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the headline that is.
Notice I talk about it. I haven't done it.
Viral.
True. You're concerned about your safety.
The threats.
I don't want to be viral author found dead in her home. That's not the kind of
murdered by.
I want to go. Right. That's not the
By
way
one of her avid readers, right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you don't want to see that.
No.
But that is definitely one way to go viral, guys.
But you want longevity. So is this about the cyclical nature then too? Like you want to go viral and then stay popular and not go viral and go dead.
Right.
Yeah, literally.
I have enough trouble getting words out some days anyway. I don't need to be dead. Also,
that would slow the words.
Right, it would
Probably.
But going back to newsletters, with all the social media platforms and all the followings that I have, I do get more sales with my newsletters because of cross promotion. That is where my sales are coming from. Whether someone buys it from a Twitter post, I don't know, but I do know when I get sales from my newsletter because they come the same time the newsletter's gone out to the cross promoters. And for those that don't know, let me just quickly do the maths of what happens here. I have 1,000 subscribers. I write fantasy. I then get an author who writes fantasy with 1,000 subscribers. I post my book on their newsletter. They post their book on my newsletter. So I have a potential of reaching, of course you don't reach, but the potential of reaching 1,000 new readers that have never heard of me, never seen my book, but love fantasy. Now imagine doing that 5 times.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is where the sales come in, because you're reaching an audience that have never seen or heard of you before. Whereas with platforms, you're very lucky if you reach new people. If they see your post, especially on Twitter, zoom, zoom, zoom.
Yeah.
You know, so with newsletters, you don't, okay, 1,000 people aren't going to open that author's newsletters. We know that. We know from our numbers and stats how many people open. But the potential is there, and the readers are there because you're targeting readers that read your genre. You're targeting the people that need your book. Whereas when you're on a platform, it's difficult because not everyone is going to be reading the genre that you write. So,
yeah. And also, to your point about not all people open the newsletters, that's really one of the things I do with my newsletter is I clean my newsletter maybe once a quarter, which means that people who have not engaged in 60 or 50 days, I think, something like that, I go through and I have a sequence. I dump them into a sequence that says, hey, you haven't engaged at all. You know, I don't, if these newsletters don't interest you, that's totally cool. You know, you don't have to do anything. You know, if you want to stay on the newsletter, hit this link, boom, you know, and then that gives them a tag that keeps them from getting pulled back into that thing. But I clean mine. So like my open rate is usually just over 40%, 45%, something like that. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and that has to do with cleaning my list, because if they're not going to engage, if they don't care, they don't need to be getting my letter. I mean, I'm like that as an email person. It's like, oh my God, let me just
another email.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't set my emails super often. Right now I'm only doing it once a month because I don't really have any sale, like any new books out or anything like that. I usually do it about when I'm feeling more motivated for it, because it's been a rough little while. I usually do, usually about 2 to 3 times a month, you know, no more than that, unless there's something big happening. So, hey, there's Courtney.
Courtney's joining late. So
I read this newsletter from this author, Austin Kleon, who's written a number of books. And his newsletter is like 10 things he's noticed that week. Something, a bookstore in his neighborhood that's nice, or a nice painting he saw in an exhibition, or a book that he recently reading that's quite interesting. And they're very, very short. And I have to confess that several times, the newsletter is very short. It's very quick. And every now and then there'll be a paragraph he'll write about a book that he's read. And I said, that sounds interesting. There's the click, there's the link. And I'll click on it and buy the book as a result of having seen it mentioned, heard it mentioned in his newsletter. So I think newsletters do work very, very well. You're more engaged in a newsletter. Absolutely true.
And the big thing about newsletters as an author is that no one can keep you from those people. Like on Twitter, like we saw it with Facebook, you know, which is what Karina was talking about earlier, about how, you know, you can have a page on Facebook with 1,000 followers and 12 of them will see your post. You know, no one can do that to you. Every other platform, your followers are that platform's. They're not yours. They're the platforms. And at any time, that platform can like create a barrier between you and the people who want your content. So, so it's really
turn off your, right. They can shut you down.
Yeah, they can, or they can just shift the algorithm, because they all want to make money. I mean, everybody wants to make money, right? So, and they're companies and they want to make money. So, like that's what happened with Facebook. They were not making money. So, in order to try to get people to use their ads and their, you know, boosting of posts and things like that, they just cut off. You know, it's like
built a wall.
Yeah, they just built a wall between you and the people who followed you, so that you have to pay them money in order to reach those people who already want your content. So you don't have that with a newsletter. With a newsletter, it's a handshake between you and a person, and only the two of you can end it. Yay! Yes.
It sounds like we're speaking my language, which we are. Which I have to say, CO Canon has a lot of stuff that helps with building a following too.
So much.
Yeah.
I love her.
I love you, Courtney.
Yes. Sorry, I totally killed that, guys.
All right, Stead, what next?
But the whole gatekeeping thing, it is frustrating. But as we were saying with the newsletter thing, you own that, and it's you get that.
But the issue with newsletters is there's so many of them, and there's so many cookies out there that make you want to click. So how many newsletters did you want just that little cookie that they give you because you're interested in the epilogue or the extra whatever, and then you never look at the newsletter, or you don't go through the full thing to get it, or you end up with 50 in your inbox and there's a limited time that you might read. So there's an additional layer onto that as well, like the headline, right? I'll go through my inbox and scream.
Yes.
Right?
That's
it's
what makes them. That's what makes them click. You've got to have that something totally different, totally open it now or else you'll die. Open my newsletter. You won't regret it. You just got to have something that makes them click on that, because they have 50 newsletters coming into their box. They're only going to click maybe 3 or 4. So that subject line has got to capture people's imagination. It's got to capture them somehow. But that's what makes people open those newsletters. That subject line. That's so important.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, I do have some that the author, whomever it is, that I will open every single one of theirs because of, an established relationship. But for those new folks, there's no way, right? Unless they hit that curiosity or they do something above and beyond or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you put free books in there, they don't always.
That don't work anymore.
Nope. They're like, there's
Their
always a free book in
Kindle's
this.
full. No more free books. No.
Yes, gosh. Even though you're like, please just click on it. Help me get my numbers up. But to find those people for your newsletters takes you back to building the following, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But there are a lot of tools out there now that help a lot with that. You can get Story Origin or Book Funnel, and you swap links like Karina was saying earlier. And that also helps, because if they're then looking at your books and they're interesting, okay, now I have to read.
Dragon.
It's not all kinds of weird characters, it's got parentheticals and numbers, and I'm just like, wait a minute, I have to do math. Facebook for me equals add. Figure out your dragon name, last name, favorite color. Add. Okay, I see. This is his feed. Okay, got it.
Okay.
JD's number post because he is awesome. Add friends post only. From those, I get the ones I viewed that morning. My post. That's hilarious. I don't see
this is your feed, right?
Yeah, that's his feed.
Okay, I was like,
yeah.
I know. Wait a minute. That's why I was like, what? Yeah. So I actually block my Facebook feed. I can't see it. I can, if I open it in a browser on my phone, because I don't have it on my phone either. If I open it in a browser on my phone, then I can see my feed. But on the computer, I can't even see my feed because it's too much of it. It's the same reason that I don't do TikTok myself, because I don't have it on my phone myself, because it's way too much of a time suck.
Yeah, you open that and you're like, oh, here, what? Oh, what was I doing?
Tell me what's that.
Yes.
Oh.
I will
Rabbit hole.
Yes,
oh my God.
Super rabbit hole. And it's insane, because then you realize 30 minutes later you were going to make a video and post something about your book. Right. And then it's like, well, now I'm tired and I really need to go start doing this.
Now I have another thing I have to be doing. Yes. I have to leave for this, or I have to go do that. Yeah, that's why I don't have I have my feed blocked. I don't. Yeah.
And even scheduling posts, because I've been playing around with scheduling posts to TikTok. Okay. You have to have a business account to schedule with the app I use to post. And that makes a difference in the music you use.
Right.
Because you get all the fun, cool stuff when you do just a regular like account versus the business stuff. It's like,
Crap.
yeah.
Yep.
And
I actually hadn't realized that was. I don't have a personal TikTok account. I only have the business account. And yeah, I did remember thinking like,
This
I'm
music
sure people
sucks.
have better music than what is available in here.
Why can't I use these?
Now
Yeah.
I know why.
And it's like you want to have all the fun poppy, like I'm more of the pop genre kind of stuff because it's upbeat. And I'm like, yeah, people can totally dance and like watch my YouTube video or TikTok video. And just like, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy my book, but like the music is fun. So they'll see it. So maybe it's in their brain. I don't know.
I try and get the music to relate to the book. So if I'm doing my MC dark romances, then I want something like heavy metal or something. But of course, I want something that people are listening to. And so you hashtag that band, you hashtag the song, and there are all your likes and all of your views now because of that. So, Lindsay, do what I did, because I made exactly the same mistake as you when I started TikTok. Get back to a personal and start using this music, because it's the music that brings the views. It seriously is.
Because you can go to that TikTok viral like option for the songs, and it shows you the top number one, even if it's like some crazy thing. It's still like you can use that, and it's going to put you in front of viewers that may not see your stuff before, kind of, because it's out of.
How does that work for copyright though? Like, does anybody know how TikTok handles? Because it sounds like and things I've seen have been actually like music from the radio or whatever, like actual songs. Like, and this doesn't really have as much to do with our topic, but I'm curious, how does TikTok get around copyright law?
Maybe that's why the business accounts have a smaller amount of music that they can deal with.
Right, but I mean, it's still a copyright violation. It doesn't matter from the artist perspective.
I'm sure artists get a piece of the pie. There's no way they'd be able to get away with that if the artist doesn't get a piece of the pie.
That's why I wonder.
And it gets flagged when you share it.
Right,
on,
but
like,
the thing is, like,
Facebook and
on
Instagram.
TikTok, or not TikTok, on Twitch, because I also do Twitch. On Twitch, if you can't use copyrighted music at all. They will block that. You'll lose it. So, and the same with YouTube. With YouTube, even with the music that Twitch provides, if you are multi-streaming to YouTube, you have a even more limited number of options for that. TikTok pays them on their platform. You can't share them on other platforms, though. Gotcha. Okay, that makes so much more sense.
Ryan Reynolds. Of course, he owns a piece of this app.
Wow.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. But I like Ryan Reynolds. When he becomes a billionaire, he's not going to be a dick about it.
True. That's true. I think so. And I've had so many, like, because this was back when I first started using the TikTok app. TikTok app. I had some posts flagged because of copyright. I was like, okay, but it's
your stuff that you're giving me.
Yeah, but I shared it from there to like Facebook, so I had to plug in. I do not own the rights to this music. So if y'all seen like people doing posts like that, it actually, I think, makes it okay. I don't know. It doesn't exactly make it okay.
It doesn't. It doesn't make it legal. It doesn't make it legal.
And it's weird that TikTok is, I don't know, it's just crazy. So
your TikTok don't want you sharing. They want you to keep it on their platform, and for people to stay on that platform. They don't want you sharing the posts.
Yeah. And that goes to what Tommy mentioned earlier about how they make you stay on the app. They won't let you go away to find your book.
Right.
So, which I've tried. Have you guys tried putting the link to like your book or your link tree in the comments when you post the video?
Comments on the video, on your headline, everywhere.
Yeah. I'm going to have us do a pause break real quick. We're going to hear from our lovely CL Cannon with the Indie Connection this week real quick, guys, and we'll be back.
Woo!
Hey guys, it's C.O. Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. Today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Don't Go to Sleep by Bryce Moore. The first book I have for you is called Anatomy of a Darkened Heart by Christy Stratos. The only way to survive the Whitestone family is to escape them. Abigail Whitestone is the eldest of the 3 Whitestone children, and the most tormented. The room darkens and the time seems to stop when she is born. But is it really her fault? Is she as evil as Mother insists, or does it forebode a life of abuse and cruelty? With only one positive influence in her life, that of her nanny, Abigail tries her best to stay out of Mother's way. But Mother always seems to be present when there's a chance to hurt, and Father is no use at all. If she could just keep the attentions of the wealthy and handsome Conrad Scott until he proposes, he could be her lifeline. But after a violent accident and a disturbing series of events that permanently warp Abigail's mental state, she finds herself drawn to stay in the very home of her abuse, and she'll do anything to force her siblings to stay too. Anything. The second book I have for you is called The Axeman by Ray Celestin. The Axeman stalks the streets of the Big Easy. New Orleans, 1919. In a town filled with gangsters, voodoo, and jazz trumpets sounding from the dance halls, a sense of intoxicating mystery often beckons from the back alleys. But when a serial killer roams the sultry nights, the corrupt cops can't see the clues. That is, until a letter from the Axeman himself is published in the newspaper, proclaiming that any home playing jazz music will be spared in his next attack. 3 individuals set out to unmask the Axeman: the police detective in charge of the official investigation, who struggles to find any leads, his former boss, newly released from prison and working with the mafia, and a secretary at the Pinkerton Detective Agency, who stumbles upon the clues that could change everything. The third book I have for you is called The Unknown Beloved by Amy Harmon. Chicago, 1923. 10-year-old Danny Flanagan returns home to find police swarming the house, her parents dead. Michael Malone, the young patrolman assigned to the case, discovers there's more to the situation, and to Danny Flanagan herself, than the authorities care to explore. Malone is told to shut his mouth, and Danny is sent away to live with her spinster aunts in Cleveland. 15 years later, Michael Malone is summoned to Cleveland to investigate a series of murders that have everyone stumped, including his friend and famed Prohibition agent Elliot Ness, now Cleveland's director of safety. There, in a city caught in the grip of a serial killer, Danny and Malone cross paths once again. Malone is drawn to Danny in her affinity for the dead and compassion for the destitute. It doesn't take long for him to realize that she could help him solve his case. A terror descends on the city, and Malone and Danny confront the dark secrets that draw them together. It's a race to find the killer or risk becoming his next victims. And the last book I have for you is called Madness in the Ruins by John A. Connell. A mutilated body, no witnesses. The only clue, a message. Those who I have made suffer will become saints, and they shall lift me up from hell. Winter, 1945. Munich is in ruins, and a savage killer is stalking the city. U.S. Army investigator Mason Collins enforces the law in the American zone of occupation. This post is his last chance to do what he loves most, being a homicide detective. But he gets more than he's bargained for when the bodies start piling up. The city devolves into panic, and the army brass start breathing down his neck. Then the murderer makes him a target. Now it's a high-stakes duel, and to win it, Mason must bring into deadly play all that he values: his partner, his career, even his life. Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on The Indie Connection. Bye!
Wow. Those are some crazy books. Like, super bloody thriller. So, sorry. Oh, gosh.
Appropriate for Halloween.
Yes, very, like, gory bloody is what that said. We've got some comments real quick. I'm going to start at Karina's. And then Joe says, Ron Reynolds is an actor. He plays Deadpool. He heard Claudia ask who he was. She has one of my favorite books of all time in this edition. Love Deadpool. Hint, it's not the traditional book. Had to rep Christy. I think I've done this book once before, but it was a great match for this one. Spoiler alert, Courtney G. I was going to make them all guess. What a great cover, The Unknown Beloved. And sorry, Joe. So, man. Okay, I have to ask because I'm curious now. Tommy mentioned using Twitter as his go-to app for his stuff. What is y'all's go-to app to do your social media, like, follow building?
Mine is Facebook. I think just because I before I even became an author, before I started writing, I had a sort of background in events organisation, which I still do. I have a side business. We do car shows, and I always found that Facebook was just an excellent platform for sort of marketing events on. So that was always my default because I'd used it for years already.
For me, I have active presence on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and that's where I'm most active. I'm not super active in any of them. Honestly, though, my Twitter has become a mashup of writing stuff, reading stuff, and political screaming. So, so some people may be a little put off by my Twitter because I'm very vocal about where I stand, and that's not palatable for some people, and that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, that's probably where I'm most at. I am pretty active on Twitch these days, which is weird, but that's mostly the writing community and not so much readers. I mean, in as much as writers are also readers, but I'm not necessarily targeting readers.
We're weird readers. So
what have people's experiences been with LinkedIn? I've done very little on LinkedIn. Is it recommended?
Yeah, I use LinkedIn a lot, but it's for business. It's for networking. It's mainly for networking, and it's surprising that someone who has a business of health and wealth and insurance can actually help your business as a writer or author, editor, because you can cross promote, you can advertise each other, and networking is so important. So LinkedIn for me is my followers on LinkedIn are my networking pals, and I mean I put my posts like for my books, and if I have a promo, it goes on LinkedIn anyway, because they're all readers. Why not? You never know. You might get a sale from one of your LinkedIn followers. Yeah, one of your connections. You do it where you can, and you put your fingers crossed. It's like you throw stuff at the wall, and if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So you know what I mean. One platform works for others, it doesn't for another. But yeah, LinkedIn is definitely for networking for me.
Yeah. And I use I don't know what y'all use for your scheduling, if you schedule at all, but I use an app called CoSchedule, and it's a paid app, and it's a little pricey, but it gives you like a visual calendar, and you can see what you're posting anywhere at any given time visually.
Oh,
and
that's
you can
nice.
drag and drop and move things around if you want to, change how it is and everything. And you can create like social campaigns. So you can just like schedule a whole bunch of things, social media posts with one link. If you have like if you're doing a promo, a book promo, like a big group promo, and it's for 2 weeks, and you want to post a number of times, you just make a social media campaign with that link, and then you can just make the individual posts. And you don't have to worry about the link. It'll be pulled in automatically.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So that's how I schedule like all of my main social media stuff. Social media accounts get writing related and reading related posts, because every week I schedule posts for the upcoming week. And And so it's like I'm posting there, and then I'll go back and, check notifications and things like that and interact with people that way. But that lets me utilize several different social media platforms without necessarily always having to be on them all the time.
Right.
I use TweetDeck for Twitter, which is free. It's let me just read this.
Yeah, this is how it goes up and down for me. LinkedIn, that is. I find more people who I have been Facebook friends with me for decades find me more on LinkedIn than that goes for those in the artist community too. I find a lot of folks find me on LinkedIn. I get to following DM. It's great to see you are all still doing GoIndieNow stuff.
Aww.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, TweetDeck is brilliant for scheduling tweets, because as long as you can do a copy of a tweet, put it up and schedule it for an hour later or 10 minutes later, because you know how quick they go. So 5 minutes later is fine as well. But just change one thing, one word, one hashtag, and it will allow you to post it again. It won't allow you to post the exact same tweet. So you just have to change one word. So you can have a schedule of 20 tweets leaving that evening, different times, different images, same message, but changing one word. So yeah, I love TweetDeck.
Nice. I use Later for mine, and it's kind of sounds similar to Vanessa's. It has the layout calendar thing. It does cost too, though. So it depends.
Yeah,
on
if you're gonna get special, like, useful things like having a visual calendar and being able to drag and drop and stuff, that's going to be stuff you're going to have to pay for.
Yeah.
So
that's nice.
Yeah, it is.
It saves me a lot of time. Time. There's only so much you can do in time.
Yep.
So out of curiosity, out of all of the time that you guys have, how much do you spend on your social media and doing that promotion? Like, what is the right balance between all the things you want to get done and your social media? I'm really curious.
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
It is.
I plead the fifth.
I have not found
gonna
that
answer
balance.
that
And you've got to find time to write, but you've got to find time to promote, because you're writing for the sake of getting sales, and you're not going to get sales if people don't know about your book. So both of them are equally as important, but then you've got, how you've got time to write, time to do social media, and you're a mother, and you've got a full-time job. Where do you fit it all in? It's all multitasking. It's all trying to cram it in. We never stop. We're workaholics. Yeah.
I'm lazy.
No, you're not.
I do.
No,
I'm a proponent of batching when it comes to getting stuff done. So every Friday, unless there's something weird going on, like this weekend, we've got multiverse, so I'm probably going to be doing this a little early. But every Friday, and those of you who are in the writing tribe and have done the Friday co-working sessions know that on Fridays, I schedule my social media for the next week. So I try to, in as much as possible, usually Mondays are things like work on newsletters, work on Patreon posts, work on blog posts if I'm doing that, which I'm not, that kind of stuff. And so then that way, the days that I'm actually, and if I can fit writing around those things, great on those days. But the other days then are free. And maybe I'll take a half an hour in the morning and a half an hour in the evening to go check to see if there are responses or whatever, or just, keep track of it during the day and stuff. But generally speaking, I like to batch my stuff. So like I'll work on certain things that kind of go together on certain days. So
Joe says 27 hours in a day. That's how many hours there are, right? I could not be carrying the one in that math.
When you have insomnia and you don't sleep at all, then you get
pants.
you get those extra hours to work, but you still don't get that to-do list written out. It's not crossed off. No day is crossed off this to-do list. It carries on to the next day. But I have more hours than you lot because I don't sleep. So,
and she really doesn't, because I recently moved my afternoon. I usually do my Twitch streams on Wednesday and Thursday, and I used to do Thursdays at noon, just like Wednesday. And then I recently, for personal reasons, had to move it back to the evening. So it's 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So I get on 9:30, which is 4:30 in the morning in Greece, where Karina is, Karina will pop up and be like, I'm here. And I'm just like, go to bed.
Or did you just wake up? It could go either way.
No,
Right?
she's
Does
still
it go
up.
that high?
She's
Yeah.
still up. And then she
I don't
might
see.
fall asleep for 20 minutes and then she's like, I'm up. Oh my God, you're
Wait,
insane.
Karina introduced a new word into the conversation I have never heard. Can you explain what sleep is?
There you
I
go.
mean-
There you go.
Karina can't. No.
It's a holy grail.
It is. It is.
Can
I already
just,
told you guys earlier I run on coffee, so
Oh gosh.
I will say,
Um,
I want just to get back to the topic real quick because I know we're getting close on time. I do want to say I actually also get a lot of newsletter followers and at least some social media followers by going to conventions or having swag at conventions, even if I'm not there.
Swag works.
Yeah, you know,
Free
cool
swag
things.
works.
Yeah, bookmarks, little stuff, whatever. But interacting with people in real time is actually a huge deal in my world. I do a lot of
the introvert me is like,
yeah.
Yeah.
My anxiety level.
That's why, but that's why you
Good,
become
yeah,
an
to
actor.
start, you're on camera.
You just become an actor. You just become an actor for that time. You create a persona that is you.
yeah,
And
that
then-
is me
and
without
then-
all the embarrassing parts.
Yes. but no, you go and you know, you just become that person for that time. It's not you. It's not you specifically. It's not your, you know, anything that people can judge you on. This is a persona that you've made up to interact with people. And because like that's, I mean, most the best sales come from word of mouth. Right. The
Yes,
best sales come from a
absolutely.
reader going, oh my God, this is
Gushing.
an awesome book.
Yeah.
You should read this book.
Yep.
That's where the best sales come from.
Yep.
And honestly, the easiest way, most effective way, I think, to make those connections are at in-person events as much as possible.
I envy you.
So,
Just
should
as
come
you
visit.
have come to a safe space here. In person. The only difference, well, for some of us anyway, is the alcohol.
That's all.
Okay.
There's
I
a
mean,
reason
that
writers hang out in the bar. I mean, that is not a stereotype. That is a reality.
It relaxes you. So
Can I say one more thing about the social media posts that, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's best to do the post on your website and share from your website to not every single platform, because nobody wants to see the same posts. But what happens is they're going to your website, they're clicking on your website, you're getting traffic to your website because of that. And if your landing page then has some beautiful covers and some nice quotes and reviews and everything from your book, they're seeing that as well. And they're going to the website. They've never been there before. There's no saying they're not going to click on some more pages and learn a bit more about you and about your books. But the post is still going to Facebook. It's still going to Twitter, but it's going via the website.
Yeah, it's being directed to your website.
Getting traffic to your website is so important.
And there's more of a chance they'll sign up to your newsletter if they're on your website.
Because they get these pop-ups.
Yep.
yeah. Well, guys, we have definitely, I think, covered this topic well today. How about we go around the table and we will tell everybody where to find your stuff. We're going to start with Lindsay.
Yeah, so you can, in terms of social media following, primarily you can find me on Facebook, just Lindsay Kinsella, the Lazarus Taxa. If you want to have a check out the books, it's on Amazon, it's on Google Play, and it's on Barnes & Noble.
Sweet. Thank you for being here today, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me.
Miss Karina.
Hi, my link tree has all the links to all my books, everywhere that I'm online, my podcast, my radio show, and everything. So check Linktree out, Karina Gantis.
Sweet. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
So mine is right there. It's kind of like Linktree, but it's called Sleep Bio. So there it is right there. And you can find the link.
Didn't you?
I did. You know me. You know me. So yeah, you can find all my stuff there. Also, if you are in or around the Atlanta area, in Georgia, USA, which, at least half of you are not. Well, none of you are actually, except for Maddie will be there. So I'm going to be part of Multiverse Convention, which is this upcoming weekend starting Friday, the 14th. So feel free to come out and say hi. If you're a writer, I run a writerly support group on Facebook called The Writing Tribe. You can do a search for TWT. You can do a search for TWT. As you can tell, there are some weirdos in there. You can do a search for TWT on Facebook and find it. We do lots of writing related things like sprints and co-working, and tonight we have a writerly discussion about a topic that people have hopefully voted on. I don't know, I haven't checked to see if anybody voted or not. So that's me.
Sweet. Thank you for being on today. Claudia?
Hi, Claudia Blood again. And I do have a link tree, but it doesn't have all the books. Let's see if I can point at it. Ooh, there it is. Or you can go to claudiablood.com.
Also, best name, by the way. I love
Yes.
it.
Thank you. And I don't write horror.
You
I had
should.
kids, and I was like, no horror. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on today, Claudia. It was
Thank you
so
for
nice
having
to
me.
have you. And I'm Madeline Dale, guys. Before we turn it over to Tommy for the last 5 minutes, which he will be sharing some awesome stuff today. Here's his graphic. He'll be for you for the last 5 minutes. I just want to ask you to like our video, hit the subscribe button, and briefly tell you a bit of what's coming up this week. As you guys saw and heard earlier in the show, Vanessa's got some stuff going on tomorrow. And then Tuesday, we have Mean Reviews with the amazing and hilarious Ron Lar, who hopefully will drop a comment for me, like, telling him, saying he's amazing. He's ornery.
He is
and
ornery.
then Wednesday, we have my episode of Character Driven dropping with another fantastic author for you guys to check out. And even cooler, since Vanessa mentioned multiverse, and several of us are going to be in Atlanta, this week in Indies next week will be aired live from the convention with many of us crazy Go Indie Now regulars. But if you want to find stuff about me and my work, my crazy multi-genre books, you can find it at my website here. Please ignore my nail polish. I need to redo it. And now we are going to turn it over to the amazing Tommy, and he is going to tell us about his work, his books, and what else he's got going on.
Thank you very much. The book is called Makeup Tips from Auschwitz, How Vanity Saved My Mother's Life, and it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. You can order it. I just did an audio book of it as well. You can order that as well. I wrote the book because my mother was an astonishing character. To give you a rough idea of what she was like, let me tell you a few stories. My father was a rabbi. He had a small little synagogue, and for the high holiday services, they would sell tickets, and my mother would be in charge of the ticket sales. And one day the phone rings, and it's a lady who says, "Mrs. Schnurmer, I would like to buy tickets for the high holiday services, but I don't want to come for the whole day. I'm coming just for the special memorial service. If I'm coming just for the few minutes of the memorial service, then how much is a ticket?" And my mother replies, "Before I answer you, did you see the movie Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton? It's my favorite movie. You know what I like the best about it? The romance when Elizabeth Taylor is kissing Richard Burton. If I go to the movie theater and I want to watch just the love scene, how much is the ticket?" So that's that's what Mom was like.
I love your mom.
Another story about Mom. She had tenants. They lived in a duplex. They lived downstairs, had tenants upstairs. And one day the phone rings, and the lady says, "Mr. Schnurmacher, there's no heat." My mother says, "Move to Florida." And the woman and hangs up. The woman is absolutely appalled. and calls back and says, Mr. Schneermacher, I'm serious. There's no heat. Mama says, well, don't walk around naked and close the window. And she bangs down again. The story's not over. The cops show up. The cops show up at the door. They knock on the door. And my mother says, who is that? Well, it's the Montreal police. We have a complaint from your neighbor. What's the complaint? Well, she says that there's no heat. What are you? The heat police. Go catch a crook. My father chimes in from back. Who was that? My mother says, oh, somebody selling chocolate. on another time, I took my mom, and I talk about this in the book. I took my mom to the Academy Awards, and I covered the Academy Awards 13 years in a row. And I had a press pass, and my friend Denny, who used to work for the Associated Press, she said, you know what, I can give your mom my press pass. I'm only covering the arrivals of the celebrities. And afterwards, I'm going back because another reporter is going to cover the main event. So that's great. There's Mom and I standing in front of the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. I have my press pass, and Mom has hers, and we're watching the celebrities arrive. And what happens is all of a sudden, Denny comes back, and she says, oh, I've got a problem. The reporter who's supposed to cover the main event, he called in sick. I have to cover the entire evening. I'm going to have to ask for your mom's pass back. I'm really, embarrassed to do that, but I have no choice. I've got to ask for it back. And so what can I do, right? It's her press pass. So I give her back the press pass, and then sort of I'm taking my press pass. I wear it a little, then I hand it to Mom, and it goes back and forth like that. And then an LA cop comes over and stands over us and says, okay, which one of you two is Tommy Schneermacher? My mother says, oh, officer, I'm so sorry. He is Tommy Schneermacher. It's his press pass. I don't have a press pass, but doesn't matter. I will walk home alone by myself in dangerous Los Angeles. And of course, by this time, she is completely charmed. She's charmed him. He's completely charmed. He puts his arm around us and takes us to a place where we can see the celebrities and get a better view. One last quick story. Also with a celebrity, I took her to the Oscars. I also took her to the Cannes Film Festival. Take her to the Moulin de Mougins, this fabulous French restaurant, and she notices a celebrity there, Omar Sharif. I said, Mom, you can't go over there. You can't go bother them. That's not what you do. They come here to enjoy themselves and be in peace and quiet and enjoy the restaurant. Anyway, I'm looking away. I'm so upset. Meanwhile, I'm talking to her back. She's already gotten up. She's walking towards Omar Sharif's table.
Oh my God.
I'm embarrassed to even look there. Then I finally looked in. What do I see? Omar Sharif is getting up from his table, going to the next table, taking a chair, and bringing it over for Mom to sit down and join his group. And that's not all. Then she grabs his hand. And she's doing this, like she's, looking at the lines in his hand. She's reading his palm.
Oh my God.
And you know what's fascinating about that? She doesn't read palms. She doesn't know how to read a palm at all. She had no clue how to do that. That was just my mom. It's always time to go indie now.
Yes.
Woo!